This evening I'm going to be flying on the most outrageously cheap flight I've ever booked. Going to be flying on Australia's newest low-cost airline Bonza for the very first time, with absolutely ridiculous price of just $49. Yes, you heard that, $49. Somehow managed to nab a seat on the longest 4-hour and 20-minute flight in the airline's network. When you average it out, this is just costing me $11.30 an hour to be on this plane. I've heard no shortage of hype and positive news about this revolutionary Aussie low-cost starter, but in recent months, news of route cuts and regulatory issues has no doubt raised questions as to the airline's long-term viability. With so much curiosity about what the real Bonza experience is like, so I thought I'd head up to Sunshine Coast to find out for myself. So without further ado, come join me tonight as we put Bonza to the ultimate test on their longest late night flight over to Darwin this evening. Good evening and welcome to Australia's sunny Sunshine Coast. It's a beautiful, warm, summer's humid evening here on the Sunshine Coast, which is about an hour north of Brisbane. Anyway, I've come up to the Sunshine Coast really for one main reason, and that is for the very first time on my YouTube channel I can review this airline right behind me. In case you can see it, we're flying on Bonza on this exact aircraft called Mulk, which is right behind me as you can see. Anyway, we're not going to be just flying any old Bonza flight tonight down to Melbourne Tullamarine or Avalon or maybe Cairns or somewhere like that. We're going to be flying actually the longest flight in their whole network, and probably one of the most obscure, unusual flights in the whole of Australia. One of the most unlikely pairings you'll ever find. We're going to be flying here from the Sunshine Coast all the way up to Australia's top end, which is Darwin. Longest flight in the whole Bonza network, 4 hours and 20 minutes. And believe it or not, you probably won't believe how much I paid for this flight. I paid 49 Australian dollars, booking only a couple of days ago, which is an absolute steal provided the flight goes ahead. So yeah, really looking forward to this evening's flight. I am very late to the party to do a Bonza review, but here I finally am. Was always a little bit nervous that I might get cancelled on at the last minute, considering they've got so few flights between the Sunshine Coast and Darwin. But it looks like tonight's flight's going to go ahead. We're all checked in. Bag drop doesn't open to 90 minutes before, I believe, so we still got about half an hour or so to chill. But yeah, without further ado, let's now head into Sunshine Coast Terminal, chill for a bit, and then come join me as we fly up to Australia's top end tonight, hoping for a really memorable first time experience on Bonza. Let's do this. For your information before we head into terminal building to finalise bag drop and check-in, just a little bit of route information about tonight's journey up to the Northern Territory capital of Darwin. So we're starting here on the Sunshine Coast, located approximately 120 kilometres north of the Queensland state capital of Brisbane. Sunshine Coast, population around 400,000 people. It's a fairly sprawling coastal region here in southeast Queensland, popular with holiday makers and retirees. Anyway, we're going to be heading around 2,800 kilometre Great Circle distance tonight, heading through northwest Queensland, through the outback of the state, crossing the Gulf of Carpentaria, before we then finally continue in a northwesterly direction into the Northern Territory, and finally arriving in Australia's top end capital of Darwin, which has a population around 140,000 people. Going on 7 PM here on a Saturday night, can't help but notice how incredibly quiet the Sunshine Coast Airport is. However, this is not usually the case. Sunshine Coast Airport, formerly known as Maroochydore Airport, is usually actually quite a busy airport. It's actually a major regional airport here in Australia. In 2022, according to the latest statistics, actually served 1.5 million yearly passengers. Actually puts it the 5th busiest airport in the whole of Queensland and 12th busiest nationally in the whole of Australia. Up here on the Sunshine Coast, you'll find most of Australia's major carriers have a presence here. You can fly to all of Australia's east coast capitals in addition to Adelaide as well. There's also numerous flights throughout regional Queensland. It's actually an original and founding base for Bonza Airlines, so they actually have a huge network of flights that you can take from here on the Sunshine Coast to quite a few obscure regional destinations throughout Australia as well. Fun fact, Sunshine Coast is actually technically an international airport. There has been on and off flights to Auckland, New Zealand with Air New Zealand throughout the years for quite some time now. Back to the Bonza flight in question. We're already checked in online courtesy of the FlyBonza app, which you're very much encouraged to do so prior to reaching the airport. So it's just a matter of waiting around a few minutes until the bag drop counter opens, where there's only a small queue of people and a very quiet airport this evening. And just like that, it's getting dark here now on the Sunshine Coast. It's a beautiful, balmy, warm, humid evening actually. We've already checked in now. Check-in open at 7 p.m, bang on 90 minutes before our 8:30 departure. Really not much happening here at Sunshine Coast Airport, especially quiet being a Saturday night. We are actually the last flight out for the night, so nothing really happening in the airport, nothing really open either. But anyway, check-in itself, a very smooth experience. Very friendly, two agents there checking us in. Like have a bit of a friendly chat as well, so really appreciate that. Really good first experience with Bonza starting at the check-in counter. Check-in, despite Bonza being ultra modern with their app-only booking system and app-only check-in, ordering, all that sort of stuff, still is the old-fashioned way check-in here at Sunshine Coast Airport with a staffed counter to drop off your bags. That's all sweet. So without further ado, let's now head through what I think will be a very quiet security screening and head airside. And let's finally do this, fly Bonza for the very first time on my YouTube channel. Can't wait to share this experience for you as we fly the longest Bonza route on the network. With bag drop now complete and boarding pass conveniently stored in my FlyBonza app on my phone, it's now time to head over to the departure gate. Really cool little semi-enclosed walkway. Leads you to the security screening point here at Sunshine Coast Airport. Really like it. It's a nice little sort of tropical feel to it. But yeah, it certainly looks like it's going to be a very quiet security screening process tonight. Once through security, I'm actually pleasantly surprised to find out there's actually a lot more open in the departures area than I was really expecting, to be honest. Being the last flight out, and by quite some considerable time too, I was really expecting little to nothing to be open. Probably about a third of the shops in the building are actually still open. That includes Sumo Salad, Swell Cafe and Bar, and also the Travel Conveniences store. So well done for these premises to not just advertising being open, but actually being open and serving all passengers. This is a lot better than many busier airports where I've been at similar times when absolutely nothing has been open. No opportunity to check out a lounge ahead of tonight's Bonza flight. So the only thing that really is such a displeasure about airport dining places is the cost. $17.60 for a pint of beer is literally a third of the cost of this flight. So it's quite outrageous when you think of it that way. Anyway, by the time I could finish up that very expensive pint of beer, boarding's actually been called incredibly ahead of schedule, so we better now head over to gate 2, which funnily enough is in some sort of temporary shelter, some sort of tent or saying, to be honest, which I find is quite unusual indeed. If you do know the real reasons why they got this temporary sort of marquee style tent for gates 1 and 2, please do let me know in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. As you heard in the pre-flight announcement, with no electronic devices to be used out on the tarmac and a pretty average view there, let's retreat to when we're back outside the terminal building to have a closer look at our ride taking us up to Darwin tonight. And there it is, folks. There's our Bonza Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft getting ready to take us up to Darwin tonight. Registration Victor Hotel, Uniform Kilo Hotel. Absolutely stunning livery, this one. Definitely one of my favourite in Australia. Maybe just second to that green Indigenous painted QantasLink Airbus A220 that's just arrived in Australia. Pretty interesting history behind this aircraft, which I think is a byproduct of all the issues that the MAX 8 had through its launch years. Anyway, it's 4.3 years of age. Bonza first took it in February 2023, although originally it was ordered by LOT Polish Airlines, but yeah, they didn't take up the order in the end. So welcome aboard Bonza's Max 8 aircraft. Can't help but notice straight off the bat it's incredibly modern and sleek aircraft. Still got that new car feel to it as well, which is really good. You will however notice it is one of the most densely populated narrow bodied aircraft in Australia in terms of seating configuration. Staying true to Bonza's low-cost regional leisure carrier business model, there's no business class on Bonza. Instead, there's 186 straight-up economy class seats located across 31 rows in a standard free configuration. You'll find Bonza's seat pitch for regular economy class is pretty tight at 29 inches with a seat width of 17.2 inches. That being said, however, the modern slimline leather seating really does make it feel more spacious than it actually is in my opinion. Bonza use a really modern Recaro seat design, so I find that very functional and minimalist at the same time. You got USB charging and a fairly standard tray back table. There's also a universal power socket as well between the two seats. If you're starting to wonder that my seat pitch looks incredibly more generous than the 29 inches, you would be correct. I parted way with 15 Australian dollars to purchase an extra row seat, which comes with 36 inches of seat pitch, which is considerably more than a regular seat. So for just 15 bucks, I can absolutely assure you this is money very well spent. Especially for taller passengers who will appreciate the considerable extra wriggle room, and yeah, also much easier to get in and out of your seat as well. In a nutshell, I find Bonza's seating is incredibly good for what it is, especially for a budget carrier. Certainly, yeah, slimline, but yeah, modern, minimalist and functional all at the same time. And just like that, only a short time after boarding had commenced, we're now already fully boarded, paperwork's been done, final checks completed, and we're pushing back well and truly ahead of schedule, ahead of our flight up to Darwin this evening. Absolutely beautiful aircraft, looking out the window, out on the wing, taxiing out to the runway this evening. A little bit tricky filming this one actually, with all the very cool modern mood lighting on the Max 8 did actually unfortunately make it a little bit difficult filming the takeoff, you know, with reflections and that sort of stuff. So I'll keep the takeoff sequence short on this one, but yeah, shortly once we're in the air, I'm then going to give you the full rundown on the Bonza in-flight experience on its longest flight in the whole network in Australia in 2024. And just like that, we're up in the air, well and truly on our way to cruising altitude as we head up and over through to Darwin this evening. Let's just do two things first. Let's check out our adjustable headrest there, which is very comfortable and adjustable, and our seat recline, which is 3 inches, which is very comfortable considering I'm in an X row seat with no one behind me. Hard to complain there. Secondly, let's make a purchase from Bonza's in-flight food and beverage menu. Not your traditional airline Bonza, they don't have a trolley service, anything like that. Some airlines have embraced in-screen ordering, but yeah, Bonza may very well be the first time where it's done all through their app. As you saw there up on the screen, we started tonight's flight by ordering the bubbly stuff package, which had a nice neat little piccolo bottle of sparkling cuvee, some sea salt sourdough bite cracker biscuits, and a little block of Beaker strong and bitey cheese to match up with the wine and the crackers. Great way to start tonight's flight. As you saw there with the timer, it took about 6.5 minutes from the moment I put in the order I prepaid for it on the app till it arrived at my seat. Pretty darn decent service, I thought, considering this is the start of the flight when most other people were typically excitedly looking through the menu and also putting in orders for the very first time, most likely. Not really a wine drinker, let alone a wine connoisseur, so yeah, hard to really judge wines for me, but yeah, this was certainly a nice, tasty, light, zesty sort of taste to it. Actually quite enjoyed it. A little bit worried about how I was going to open that bottle. Didn't want the cork going flying, especially in a pressurized cabin, but yeah, it looks like they've got some sort of modified bottle top to make it safe, so that's good to know. After navigating successfully Bonza's app-based ordering system for the very first time, let's check out the loos on their 737 MAX 8 aircraft. One at the front, two at the rear on this particular aircraft. Yeah, kept in pretty good and nick overall, pretty clean and tidy, and yeah, not overly spacious as you would expect on a narrow body, but yeah, it looks more than functional indeed. There's even a coat hook as well, so Jaden Wong would be happy about that. But yeah, well done Bonza for keeping this clean and tidy. Been on airlines before where they haven't done such a good job at such a basic thing. As we now have a bit of a stroll through the very modern looking Bonza aircraft cabin, and that mood lighting dims quite considerably to allow passengers to get some shut eye on the late night flight over to Darwin this evening. Let's now have a look in a bit more detail into our FlyBonza app in terms of its in-flight functionality. As I alluded to before, the FlyBonza app really is the be-all and end-all for Bonza Airlines. All roads really lead to the FlyBonza app when you are flying on Bonza. Really not even sure if it's possible if you could fly Bonza without having their app. So to even book a flight with Bonza, you're going to need to use their app to both search for and make a reservation, and then you're also going to need to use the app to check in prior to your flight. So most likely you're still going to have the app on the phone time your flight comes along. In a moment I'll scrutinise the in-flight entertainment and menu in a little bit more detail, but for now I order a second drink of the night. Order Spinifex Premium Lager. Comes with a pack of flavour beans. The combo is $10.85, so I think it's only 85 cents more to get the combo than the drink alone. Bit of a no-brainer for me. Ordering this on the app once again was absolutely seamless and only took about a minute and a half to arrive this time, so no complaints there. After scrutinising the Bonza in-flight menu, one thing I really like about this airline is the way that they really try to source local Australian produce and beverages on board. Pretty well everything, if not everything, they stock is all Australian made and owned. Most of these companies are also smaller companies as well. Many of them have sort of a strong social conscience as well, so that's really good. The beer I had was owned by a veterans organisation in WA as well, so a bit of the profits being put back into good causes. Really like to see that. The prices too, well, I wouldn't consider cheap. I thought were relatively reasonable as well. Probably a couple dollars cheaper per item than Virgin Australia, and maybe marginally cheaper than Jetstar as well. One thing that I was quite surprised to see was the in-flight entertainment option. So yeah, they do have an internal Wi-Fi system on board, so they can stream entertainment to your own device. Don't expect a Virgin or Qantas level of stream to your own device, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of entertainment there. There is a moving map. It's fairly basic, but it does the trick. You also got podcasts, you've got a small selection of TV shows, and you've got quite a lot of sort of ebooks and also some TED style talk seminars and that sort of stuff. Interestingly enough, there was a series on how to do vlogging, there was one on photography skills, and there was also one on sort of financial planning and all that sort of stuff. All quite interesting sort of talks to listen to. And just like that, only about 3.5 hours into the flight, seems to really flown by a lot quicker than I was expecting. We're already making our descent into Darwin International Airport. So what better time now just to sit back, relax and enjoy the views coming into Darwin. Fortunately, while they're not perfect, they're much better than taking off from the Sunshine Coast. And just like that, we're here again in Australia's top end. We're here 40 minutes ahead of schedule, and that was a really quick and smooth flight tonight on Bonza. Now as we taxi to the gate here in Darwin, and before I get to my final overall verdict and overall assessment on tonight's flight with Bonza, just want to offer my few thoughts and opinions on the state of Bonza in 2024 and where I hope the airline will be going in the future. For me, based on tonight's experience with Bonza, very first time flying this airline, know I'm a bit slow to the game compared to other aviation YouTubers, but yeah, absolutely not afraid to blow my cover in putting it out there that this was an absolutely epic experience tonight. Absolutely stellar Bonza experience. Absolutely enjoyed every moment of it. Everything about it was absolutely fantastic. What I do worry about, however, is the sustainability of this airline. I paid $49 for the flight coming over to Darwin tonight, and yeah, I take note that pretty well the whole route network is on sale for $49 at the time of taking this flight as well. Don't get me wrong, while I'm certainly not criticising this airline for flying me all the way up to Darwin for an outrageous $49, I actually really like the attitude of this airline, really trying to bring air travel a closer opportunity to more Australians, particularly those who are living in regional areas, connecting regional centres to regional centres, bypassing the big city transit hubs. Really like that idea, yeah, but I just do have some concerns about its long-term sustainability. Probably like with many new businesses, when you first start out, particularly an airline, really don't see how Bonza are going to be making any real profit anytime soon. But yeah, they're certainly trying to continue operating these routes, even if it's at a loss, building up that customer base and the loyalty of the travelling public. Warming to that new kid on the block in Australia's already, crowded airline market. So yeah, I absolutely wish Bonza all the success for a successful future. I think it's definitely good for Australian aviation that they succeed long term. I think it's just going to be a bit of a balancing act for this airline, however. I think on the one hand, while Aussies absolutely love the idea, particularly ones in regional centres, being able to fly on more niche routes between regional centres, bypassing the big capital cities, I think they love that. They love the low fares as well, but on the flip side, they also want to see a reliability as well. So that means they want to be confident when they book these low cost flights that they're not going to be cancelled on. While I do know Bonza are getting some additional Max 8 aircraft through their Canadian partner Flair, I think the quicker they can build up their fleet size to really establish themselves in the Australian market, that would really help them to not be running such an extensive route network with such a small fleet of aircraft. I think that will be best for the airline long term. And just on the FlyBonza app, while I do agree it's a very noble idea, it's a good app, it's very much a game changer in the aviation industry, probably saving Bonza a bit of money for my 2 cents, but for what it's worth, I'd still prefer if they had an old-fashioned website where you could book your airfares online, check in, whatnot on there. Even better, a system where you could book tickets over the phone. Believe it or not all Australians are fully engrossed in mobile phones, let alone have one in 2024. So yeah, having a system where you could book over the phone on the website would probably just expand your market to more potential, perhaps older Australians. And there we have it, folks. Welcome to Australia's top end. Absolutely amazing to be back up here in the Northern Territory, in its capital of Darwin, for the first time since 2020. Absolutely love Darwin, and even better, we're here in the height of the summer wet season. It's over 30 degrees Celsius, it's after midnight, and it's 90% humidity. What more could you love about Australia's top end? Anyway, in summation of tonight's flight with Bonza, it really was a Bonza experience. Starting with the price, $49 for a 4.5 hour flight. There'd have to be a lot of things to go wrong to really criticise a flight that cheap. But yeah, the flight was absolutely sensational. For $49, the crew were really friendly. The Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft still had that new car feeling. Appreciated the in-flight entertainment on the app. You know, it was fairly sort of limited, but don't forget this is a low-cost carrier. The in-flight entertainment had a few TED Talk style seminars. It had some podcasts, had a moving map, had 1 or 2 TV shows you could watch. So yeah, really can't complain for a low-cost carrier offering any sort of free entertainment. It's good entertainment in my opinion. And yeah, the Bonza app were absolutely seamlessly in flight for ordering food and beverage, which I thought was really reasonable, to be honest. And yeah, the crew had a really friendly face at all times. And yeah, it was a very quiet flight. Definitely would have been operating at a loss this flight. Probably only about a quarter full. So that made for a very comfortable flight. Everyone could kind of spread out, find an empty row of seats to themselves. So absolutely Bonza experience tonight, flying up to Darwin. Absolutely enjoyed it. Really was a great way to start my first ever Bonza experience. So if you have enjoyed tonight's trip report with Bonza, I certainly have. Very Bonza experience indeed. Really appreciate it. Could give the video a like, leave your comments down below, and most importantly, don't forget to, if you do enjoy my content, whatever brings you to the channel, flight reviews, walking tours, hikes, drives, aviation, plane spotting, whatever it may be. If you do enjoy any of that content, whatever it may be, if you could just take a few seconds to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and flick that bell and notification button on, that would be really, really much appreciated. Just motivates me to produce better and better content for you guys, and just helps ensure you guys don't miss any of the future videos coming up on the channel. Huge trip around Australia and New Zealand over the course of January and February to kick off the year. Got plenty of flight reviews, train reviews, some very interesting ones on unique airlines, to be honest. Also got lots and lots of walking tours, got some hikes, and also got some aviation plane specials. So plenty of good stuff to look forward to, which will be much easier to keep up with if you subscribe. You can also visit my website, aussiejetsetter.com.au, for latest in written trip reports, flight reviews, industry news, destination guides, frequent flyer hacks and more. Also, I'll put a link to my socials in the description below. Might wish to check out my Instagram or Aussie JetSetter Shorts channel if you want a bit more of the short form content covering what I'm doing around the world in real time. You may wish to check out that. Also, even got a Discord server where dedicated fans and community of the channel can discuss all things aviation and travel, so you may wish to check out that. So from here at Darwin International Airport, thanks so much for watching tonight's trip report, and until the next video, thanks so much for watching, and safe travels wherever that might take you.